name is Mark Madden, ex of TNT Monday Nitro. Welcome to Starrcade 2. It's where every wrestling fan should be. And if you can't be here, you should be watching it on Fight TV. It's my pleasure to be joined by a legend of the wrestling business. No, not at all, David. I'm standing where Jim Ross once stood, Bob Caudle, Tony Schiavone.
Oh, my word.
It's the great David Crockett. David, the subject today is Behind the Paint with Sting. And as a lifelong WCW fan and someone lucky enough to work for the organization, to me, Sting represented WCW. He was there pretty much from the beginning,
yes,
and there till the very end, the last match on Nitro with Ric Flair.
Sting is the individual that caught WCW on fire. He came in yelling and screaming. He took the fans with him, and he never stopped. Never, ever stopped.
Well, let's talk about what enabled him to ignite WCW. Two big early turning points in Sting's career. The 1988 Clash of the Champions match, the 45-minute draw with Ric Flair. And then in 1990 at the Great American Bash, he won the world title. At that point, with all due respect to all the other great competitors, WCW was Sting.
Yes, but you look at who he was wrestling. Ric Flair, the one and only Ric Flair.
Woo!
Sting had his best match, and Ric Flair had his best match, too. The competitors couldn't done anything wrong, really.
Now, Sting is a very unique performer in that he was a superstar under the guise of two very separate personas. At first, he was the surfer guy with the crazy face paint. Then he became the quiet guy, the brooding crow character, and was equally effective in each role.
Well, when he became the Raven, he was the Raven internally and externally. And I have never seen anyone go through a morphosis just like that. On stage, off stage, Sting was very inward. To this day, I don't quite understand what happened to him, but it really was something to see.
No, you're right. He took on many aspects of the on-screen persona, and that's part of what makes any wrestler great. Well, now it's time to go behind the paint. Let's go to the Pro Wrestling Tees stage. It's Tony Schiavone and Sting.
Well, what do you know? It's 10 o'clock in the morning, Las Vegas time. How many hungover people do we have? Wouldn't want you any other way. Wow, we've had a great time here. Thanks to Mark Madden. How about David Crockett coming back, huh? Whoa. Starrcast 2 has been wonderful. I had a chance to sit up here yesterday with Jerry the King Lawler, JR, Mark Henry, and Davey Boy Smith Jr., and we were talking about Owen Hart and remembering him. And that's what we're about. We're remembering the great past in pro wrestling that really, if you think about it, is not that far removed from us. When we think about the 80s and the 90s and even up into the early 2000s, we think about some of the great stars. But no one made a bigger impact in pro wrestling, I think, in a short period of time than Sting. You go back, and Mark already mentioned this, you go back to the Clash of the Champions that we did back in 1988. Jim Ross and I were doing that show, and it was the first time that we saw Sting really on a national stage against Ric Flair. And even though the match, if you'll recall, ended in a draw, it really made Sting a household name. But with a lot of great wrestlers, or a lot of wrestlers, you can become a household name, but then sometimes they don't do anything with it. But Sting did a lot with it. It was the face paint. It was the excitement. It was the charisma that he had. And then as we move forward into the 90s, the middle of the 90s, we all remember Sting and the Crow. We're going to talk about all the incarnations of Sting. We're going to let you ask him questions as well. But I want to let you know that he and I really have only talked twice since 2001. And it was it was actually last year when we were in Waynesboro, Virginia together. Just saw each other briefly, and we talked in the back here just a few moments ago, talking about what we're going to say. So, listen, it's my honor. It's my honor to be a part of his career. It's my honor to present to you truly one of the great superstars this business has ever seen. He's my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sting! telling you, that entrance never gets old. It doesn't, man. It just never. It's good to see you, man.
Good to be here, Tony. Good to see you, too. Good
Yeah.
to see you here in Las Vegas as
Yeah.
well.
Sting, I want to. Fans may not realize this. You and I were talking in the back just a few moments ago about how you started in the business. And I remember first seeing that you and Jim Hellwig were the Blade Runners and a tag team. And that's really how you got your start in pro wrestling. Am I right by saying that?
Well, it's before the Blade Runners, actually. I mean,
Really?
we did start out as a tag team, but we were the Freedom Fighters.
The Freedom Fighters.
Red, white, and blue.
Red, white, and blue. Now, there's a poster out there that Sting has signed, and you can see all the different faces of Sting. And we were talking about this one right here.
Yeah, this one here. That's a first. I've never seen that one on any poster, any ad of anywhere of any kind. This was a personal picture that ended up on social media just after we lost Jim. And I think I put a few pictures out. It could have come from me. I can't remember. But anyway,
Right.
that's one of our original ones right there.
Right. And you guys worked for Jerry Lawler in Memphis, right? As the Blade Runners. And can you tell us that story?
Yeah, well, we went through a wrestling camp in Southern California and sent out press kits all over the United States to different wrestling organizations, and only one of them returned our call or got back with us. It was Jerry Jarrett, and he asked us to come out to Nashville, Tennessee, where we did our first TV taping, and we started out together as the Freedom Fighters.
Right.
Two real green guys. He was 285 pounds and a monster. I was 260 pounds and pretty big,
Yeah,
but I looked
at
like a little
260.
kid compared to him. And man, we were so green, and for about 3 months we wrestled and saw other guys getting hurt left and right because we didn't know what we were doing. And anyway, we were at the Memphis Coliseum doing a show there, and I had separated my shoulder pretty bad. I couldn't wrestle, so Jim had to go in there, and I think Buddy Wayne. I can't
Buddy Wayne?
It could have been Buddy Wayne. Anyway, he was managing at the time, and so he walked out with Jim, and they did some kind of spiel. And Jerry Jarrett, in the dressing room at the Memphis Coliseum, he's got his dip in his mouth, and he looks at me, he says, Sting, he's got his notebook, and he's looking at some stuff, and he says, we're going to have to finish you up, Sting, you and your partner. I said, finish us up? What does that mean? He said, it means we got to let you go. So they let us go, but he said, I'm going to place you with Bill Watts in Oklahoma. And
Right.
so we didn't lose a job. We actually gained one, and we went
Right.
to a better place for us anyway. So
Sure. And then of course, the fans on a nationwide level remember your years with WCW and Jim Crockett Promotions. And I want to go back really and talk about that Clash of the Champions match, because that was the one we all say made Sting a star. Talk about that day. Were you nervous? I mean, I know it was a long time ago, and I know I can't remember what I had for breakfast the next day. So were you nervous going into that, knowing how big on a nationwide scale that match was, and you were facing Ric Flair?
Oh, I mean, absolutely, yes. I was very, very nervous. I mean, you're wrestling the Nature Boy. Everybody wanted to be able to get into the ring with Ric Flair, especially for the world title, big world title matches. It was like a dream. And live TV, 45 minutes, commercial free. People forget that stat.
That's right.
That's pretty big, though. 45 minutes commercial free, first time in the history of television, any kind of sporting event.
Right.
Or any kind of event,
Right.
really went 45 minutes commercial free. And so, but I felt confident at the same time because I was in the ring with the greatest, and he
Right.
trusted me and I trusted him.
Right. And safe to say that this was the Sting right here. Is that right? The one with the blue face paint and the spiked blonde hair? I don't know if you wore that exact same face paint. or
No,
not.
but that's about the
Yeah.
right time. Yep.
Yeah. Which begs the question, how did you decide how to paint your face? Because you paint your face so many ways. You painted it white and black, later in the career that we saw. Then you painted it red for the Wolfpack. But in the early days, how did you decide how to paint your face?
Yeah, we started out with this one, the first one we talked about. You guys can't see it, but anyway, if you get this poster, that one right there was the very first paint that Jim Hellwig and I did together as a tag team, and we did it just to try to get attention. We wanted to match with the Road Warriors. So, hey, let's add a little bit of paint to our face like the Road Warriors do, and maybe we can get a match with them somehow. So it just kind of evolved from there into, we split off. He went his way and became the Dingo Warrior,
Right.
in Dallas for world class, and I stayed with Watts and then with Crockett, and then I don't know. I just it was one day that I think it was Ricky Morton was supposed to wrestle Rick in another angle with
Right.
those two together. Ricky got hurt. We had just finished. Rick had just wrestled Ronnie Garvin for the world title in Detroit. Remember, we did a $110,000 gate. You know, was it
1987.
Cobo Arena or Joe Louis? I
Yeah,
can't
it was
remember.
Joe Louis Arena.
Yeah. Anyway, and a great house. Ronnie Garvin wins the world title. We go back there a month later, and we did about a $10,000 house. So they immediately wanted to take the title off of Ronnie and put it back on Rick and put Rick with somebody, and it was going to be Ricky Morton. Ricky Morton gets hurt, and so Dusty, who's writing and booking all the storylines, says, Stinger, baby, I want you to put a little color on your face. I want you to paint your face. We're going to get some neon tights on you. We're going to get funky like a monkey, if you will. And anyway, that's where the actual color of the paint started. Then he said, put some color on your face, no more black. I want to see some bright colors, So we got the colors going, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and I remember walking to the backstage area when you're painting up and looking at you and say, what's it going to be today? And you just kind of went with it, right? I mean, there was no plan, obviously for like the Great American Bash, red, white, and blue. But before then, you just kind of went with it,
you just
right?
kind of wing it every night and just kind of come up with, whatever colors, whatever tights and boots you got, and then get your paint to match. And I don't know, just did a different design on the face every night.
Well, like I told him backstage, you guys know that I'm a big Kiss fan. Kiss has never aged, right? They paint their face. It's the best gimmick in the world. Everybody else, look how old he is. Oh, Sting looks the same. Greatest
No,
gimmick ever.
I know better than that. No amount of paint can cover up that.
Well,
He's changed.
you had that injury. Everybody knew that in '89 that you were going to probably be the next world heavyweight champion. Had that injury. How did that affect your mentality or affect your excitement leading to your career?
I mean, it's one of those times. My injury was one of those that needed reconstructive surgery.
Yeah,
and you don't know if you're really going to be able to come back.
Right.
And if you can come back, are you? Is it going to be too late? Will you have missed your window of opportunity? You had a window, you were in it, you were on the ride, and I saw so many guys get hurt or injured or have other personal problems and have to get out and lost that ride and tried to come back, and when they came back, things were different. It wouldn't click for them again, and so. And it's a dog-eat-dog world. Pro wrestling is, we're all buddies, we all love each other, but, it's very competitive, and you want the number one spot. You want that match against Ric Flair. You want to run with the Four Horsemen, and, so it was a scary deal.
Yeah.
And, I found the best doctor in the country to do it. So it's supposed to be a 7-month out. I came back in 5 months at the Great American Bash.
Right.
And wrestled Rick in July in Baltimore. And
Yeah.
that was pretty tough. My knee really wasn't ready.
It was a freak thing, too, when you had the injury. It didn't happen in the ring. It happened outside of the ring.
Outside the ring, yeah.
Yeah.
But, in those days, you're doing so many TV tapings, and it's in and out of the ring. You warm up, you get loose and limber, you cool off, then you got to go again. You cool off, you got to go again. It's like over and over and over again.
Right.
And so I had street clothes on, had the cowboy boots on and jeans, and running to the ring and jumped off on my left leg to go grab up onto the cage. I was supposed to crawl into the cage and get into it with Rick, and I felt something go in my leg. I mean, I honestly thought that it was was it Nancy Kerrigan, the ice skater that thought somebody, the pipe deal, and so I thought somebody hit me with a pipe.
Really?
Or something. I mean, I did. I looked back at the fans sitting in the front row, and they were all like this. I knew no one did anything. So, I put my hand down there like this, and I put my fingers underneath my kneecap. My kneecap was way up here, way up high on my leg. It's pretty disgusting. But I knew exactly what it was.
Yeah.
I knew my patella tendon was severed. It was gone.
Right.
And so I hobbled around, and Rick crawled out of the cage. I was supposed to go in. He didn't know what was going on, so he's crawling out. I got Wahoo McDaniels, and I think JJ, who was the undercover guy that was with us for so many years? Dillinger, yeah, my gosh.
Thank
Doug
you.
Dillinger. How did I forget?
Yeah, we're playing
anyway,
verbal
Doug
charades up here.
Dillinger, Wahoo McDaniel, a bunch of other guys, and I said, man, Rick's crawling out of the cage, and he's coming this way. I said, you got to stop him and I'm hopping around on my right leg, and from the knee down on the left side, the leg is just kind of swirling, turning in circles. It's grotesque to think about, but, please stop him, and here he comes, jumping over the top of everybody, on top of me. Rick, I'm hurt. My knee's gone, stop.
Yeah.
He was like a pit bull.
Yeah.
Blood. He was out for it.
Right. Because when the Lightron, the bell rang, he was like another human being in there, wasn't he?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Especially if there were dollar signs involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all like that. So you come back, as you said, they said 7 months, you came back in 5 months, had the match with Rick. Biggest moment of your life? Maybe? You had big moments.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of the biggest for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, the very first time I won the world title against Ric Flair, and it was in Baltimore, and Baltimore was always a good town for me. The reaction was incredible. I'll never forget that. And I made it through the match, and I don't think if it was against anyone else other than Rick, I don't know if I would have come back in the 5 months like that, but I trusted him so much, and he kept reassuring me. He says, nope, it's going to work. It's going to work. We'll make it work.
Right.
And I'm glad that I did it the way I did it.
Right. All right, now I want to fast forward. I want to fast forward to the mid-'90s. I want to fast forward to the NWO angle. Fast forward to the fact that, you became the face of WCW against the NWO during that time. What was that time like for you? I mean, you completely changed your character. You really did, from the surfer, the blonde hair, the screaming, the vibrant Sting, to a guy who was very removed. How was that for you?
It was a really good time and a really bad time all at the same time. Yeah, I had a lot of personal stuff going on in my life during that time, but it was good professionally because, my creative juices started to flow, not just for myself, but for everybody, for the NWO, for Hogan, for Lex Luger, for Marcus Bagwell, for all the guys. And I mean, we were all like that. Everybody was kind of helping each other, but it was a good time for me. I kind of felt like at that time I came into my own. And, I took risk and changed my character again. And it was, again, one of those times where you can get injured and miss a while and come back and things are not the same, or you can change your character or do something like a Shockmaster kind of a thing and never recover from it. And and I knew that painting my face and doing something different, and no talking, and hiding up in the rafters and all that could have been something that you guys would have just laughed at and hated. And I couldn't have recovered from something like that. So I'm grateful that it worked, and I had a lot of fun doing it.
Did you really like going up in the rafters like that?
No, no. I always tell people my sphincter muscle was very tight.
Yeah, I bet. Absolutely,
Yes.
I bet. But it all worked out.
Yep, it did. Even Panama City, Vietnam vet who was the pilot, we had to it's college, spring break, Daytona Beach. We've got to hover over the water out there by the hotels, the high-rise hotels, and the sun's going down and it's getting darker and darker. We have to wait for our cue till we come over the ring. And, I'm going to rappel. And the pilot says, Sting, if somehow or another the rope gets caught in the blades, I'm going to have to cut you loose. And I went, and he's looking at me like this. He was dead serious. He was going to cut me loose,
Yeah.
I was like, well, if it gets caught in the blades, we're both going down, bro.
Wow.
Yeah, it was scary stuff. There's a lot of stories, and some of them, I could never tell. And Owen, we can not forget Owen. How appropriate you guys were acknowledging him, and I could tell you some stories. I mean, honestly, there was one night in particular, Chicago at the United Center, where, this far from that very thing happening. That was a football field high. So.
Yeah, geez. Yeah. I remember thinking, yeah, he's up there. I hope it all works out. And it did all work out. But I want to go back to something that everybody talks about and get your opinion on. And you can talk about it however you want to. And that's the one match that we built up with you and Hogan at Starrcade. The finish of that match is one that's been discussed and debated and booed on.
Yeah. Let's talk about Starrcade and the big build-up and the finish. let's go into the finish in great detail. We want to know exactly.
Yes, because
Man, unbelievable.
I know.
You of all people, Tony.
Well, hell, I was the one that had to say, was that a fast count? That was a fast count. I thought it was going to be a fast count. What the fuck's going on?
We had a plan.
I did.
We had a plan. It was a year-long plan, and it was in motion. And that day, suddenly it wasn't in motion like it was anymore. So lots of changes, lots of behind-the-doors meetings happening. I think because of that, number one, I don't believe that our match actually followed the big build-up.
No, you're right.
It did not follow. But I think it was due to all the chaos that happened, the hours that, of that day that led up to the match. And not knowing for sure what we were going to do and how we were going to do it, literally, until we walked through the curtain. And I think if we'd have just kept with the game plan and done what we had all agreed on, things would have been a lot different. The match would have been so much better.
Right.
The finish, the reaction, everything would have been better. And we wouldn't be talking about this right now.
Right. The fact is, though, that was the top moment for our business at that time, for WCW.
What are you trying to say? Are you
Well,
trying to
what
say
I'm
that
saying-
I sabotaged
No,
the company
no.
somehow? It's my fault. It's a big setup here, see?
No,
I'm being set up.
No, I'm talking about.
It's Sting's fault that WCW went down.
Okay, I'm talking about. I'm talking about the business. The business was hot at that time, and the business was hot.
No,
because-
you just said that it was the biggest thing that the company had going, and you dropped the ball, Sting. Because of you, ratings went down.
Okay, you did win the title later against Hogan, didn't you?
Did I? I don't know. Yeah. I'm like Steve Austin. Steve Austin doesn't remember any of the matches he had. I mean, I remember some matches and
Okay, good.
some big moments, but
Okay. Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
like
know,
you.
did
I can't remember everything that we did. I mean, we did so much. But did you ever think? Now, you guys are you and Jim Hellwig are sending out, your tapes or whatever to every promotion across the country. Did you ever think it would come to this, being one of the top stars ever in the business? I mean, it was a long road. It really was.
It was. Of course, I dreamed of that happening, and that was my goal for sure. But I
Right.
mean, there's a lot of guys that think they're going to break into pro wrestling and dye their hair blonde or something, and just come up with some kind of gimmick, and bench press 500 pounds and squat 800, and they're going to make a big name for themselves in wrestling. But it's just like trying to get into the NFL.
Right.
It truly is. I mean, a lot of guys can get into pro wrestling. A lot of guys can do the regional stuff. And God bless all those guys, because they're all trying and working their butts off and want to make a name for themselves, and they want the big match, the big WrestleMania matches, and so on and so forth. But man, it requires a lot of sacrifice and effort, and you keep your mouth shut and your ears open and listen to help make it and learn from guys like Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes and the Four Horsemen. And I'm just rambling now. So
No, you can ramble. We want to hear from you. I
was looking at his watch.
No.
I mean, Tony's just digging his hole deeper with me. I'm going. He's going.
I got my son here who's helping us time things, so we wanted to make sure that we got the fan questions in. So he just sent me a text, and I got this new Apple Watch. Thank you very much. When WCW went down in 2001, obviously you did some things with TNA. We saw you at WrestleMania. Talk about when WCW went down, some of your thoughts about the business and your thoughts about your career and your family moving forward.
It's a tough time. It was a surreal time. Second-class citizens, I've always talked about it for so many, many years, and I could tell you so many stories where we were definitely second class in comparison. Then we launched Nitro. Hall and Nash, Luger comes over, Hogan changes his character, Sting changes character, NWO, the rest is history. Just unbelievable. Great time. And I'm rambling. And what was your darn question?
Well, my question is, yeah, my question was, I forgot. No, my question
what was his question?
My question was.
See, I just need to answer the question and not ramble so much.
About moving forward, about your thoughts about
What
your
was it
career.
like when they came in
Yeah.
and they took over and that whole thing? Yeah,
Yeah.
surreal. And it was, being second-class citizens for so long, and then, literally having what was really like the enemy coming into the camp.
Sure.
And taking over and taking us, hostage. Man, I mean, it was not a good feeling, and I left. The rest was it was over for me, and I kind of left, and with my tail between my legs. I had a contract that no one else could assume, so Vince
Right.
couldn't take that contract. Time Warner, AOL had it, and they had to pay me for another 18 months, and which they did, and I just didn't have any job duties to perform.
Right.
And so I kind of did nothing there for a while, and it was just not a good way to end. And how did it all happen? You think, how did this slip through our fingers? We were second class, we worked our way up to even, then we went to surpass, then we became the talk of the whole globe, and we lost it.
Right.
How did it happen? I mean, you just say, what happened? I mean,
May have been the finish of that match. I'm
yeah,
not sure.
it probably was. It was that Starcade,
But
Yeah, no, it was tough.
you did stay away from going to the WWE for quite a while. What brought you back?
I mean, I talked to Vince a few times over the years and had great conversations with him. And, when I talked to him, it was always good. And I almost left on a few different occasions.
Right.
WCW always came to the plate and gave me what I asked for, so I stayed. But, after TNA ended, it just seemed like the one thing that I hadn't done, was
Right.
WWE and WrestleMania, and so I sent the text message out to Triple H and to Vince, and
Right.
hey, have you guys turned the page on me yet? And then they hadn't, and so I did it, and I'm glad that I did do it. But yeah, I wanted to be able to say that I did a WrestleMania, and I just wanted to see what it felt like and have that one last run.
What did you think of that match, you and Triple H? I mean, it was at the stadium there in San Jose, I guess, and
Levi Stadium, yeah.
yeah, Levi Stadium. That was quite a big moment. It really was.
It was. It was a big moment for me. I mean, those big stadiums like that with all
Right.
those people, and it's a completely different environment. It's a WWE environment. It was amazing. It really was.
Right. Did you feel at that time, like many of us did, that you were still representing the old WCW?
The storyline was, they were trying to dictate that with a storyline,
Right.
And I suppose there's no way to get around that.
Right.
I mean, it just is what it is.
Right.
But I think that people, love that.
Sure.
Just to see, DX out there with NWO.
Right.
Hogan, Hall, Nash, and everybody all in the same place at the same time. I mean, I've had so many people over the years since then tell me we didn't think we'd ever see anything like that. It was like a dream.
Right.
A dream come true for so many fans. It was a dream come true for me. I mean, Triple H and I were selling there for a minute, and all the other guys are doing their stuff out there. It was just kind of fun to watch and listen to the crowd,
Right.
to the reaction. So it was a cool moment for me too.
Right. It was a cool match, as a matter of fact. And listen, we do want to take your questions. We have Mike Williamson here. Where are you, Mike? He's right in front. We've got. It's hard for us to see because of the spotlights, but. Who's our first question? Tell us your name and what do you got for Sting?
Anyone got questions?
Oh, I thought you were standing there with somebody.
Nope. What's your question?
My question is, Sting, facing The Undertaker, there was always a lot of rumors over the years. Do you think there's any chance nowadays that we might still see The Undertaker versus Sting?
The answer is no. I do not believe that it's going to happen, and it's something that I always wanted to happen. You guys all know that. I've been outspoken about it. I'm not even sure how he really feels about it. I'm not sure if he'd even want to do it. I've never asked him. You know, we've had conversations. I've never even talked to him about it. But the one thing that I do regret is not having that match against him, because I think we could have told an incredible story. It would have been a night to remember for sure.
All right, that guy's accent made that sound so much more epic. When you wrestled The Undertaker. Next person? Yeah. I got it.
Ever any thought about switching back to Surfer Sting for a match just to surprise everyone?
Not enough hair on my head. There'll be no flat top anymore. Those days are gone. I can put neon colors on and I can put neon paint on my face, but that's where it ends. You want me to carry a surfboard? I'll do that too.
Hi, Sting. I was just wondering, who are some of your favorite partners to work with? Not high-profile matches, more like on the house shows, a couple guys that you really enjoyed working with.
Some of the guys I like to work with in the house shows? Man, I had great matches with Van Vader. I loved working with him. I really liked working with Leon a lot. I miss him too. Rick Rude. I had great matches against Rick Rude. I'd say Vader, Rick Rude, and the Great Muta. Those guys were like after Ric Flair, I'd have to put those guys in there. I just loved working with all three of them. Great times with all of them.
I want to say something about your matches against Vader, because you had some great ones. We talked about Flair being in the mindset, being a pit bull. When Vader was in a match, for even us sitting at ringside, he was scary as hell. I mean, he really had to lay it in.
She should be in the ring with him.
I know. I mean, he could be pretty rough in the ring.
Yeah, no, he was straight out of Japan.
Right. Yeah.
When I wrestled him.
Yeah, the strong style.
Yeah, we were in Gainesville, Georgia, doing TV taping, and Harley was managing him.
Yeah.
And Gainesville, Georgia was a small arena, and so the dressing rooms are small, and the guys are underneath the bleachers, and their fans are sitting right above us, and we're looking through the cracks. We can see into the ring and all this, and Harley's got a cigarette. He's smoking like this, and we're talking about the match, and I can hear something like an animal underneath the bleachers in the distance. What is that? He goes, "It's Leon." "What's the matter with him?" "He's throwing up." "Why is he throwing up?" "He's nervous because he's wrestling you." Am I going to die tonight? Tell me, am I going to die? He's straight out of Japan. He's 400 pounds. I mean, no, I did tame him. But, by the time I did tame him, I loved working with him. Yeah. Great matches. I mean, 400 pounds doing a moonsault off the top rope.
Yeah. Nobody could move it like him. You're right.
Oh, man, unreal.
Yeah.
We're in the Omni. He did one of those moonsaults on me in the Omni in Georgia. We hit the ring. We just hit weird that night. We bounced up in the air, and as we came down, I came down crooked, all his weight on me. I could see the rib through my skin like this as I went like this. And I went, oh, I'm laying there. He goes, "What's the matter? What's the matter? Are you okay?" I go, "No, I'm not. My rib's broken." "What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What do I do? What do I do?" Tell Pee Wee that you're going to get disqualified. Just pie-face the referee, Pee Wee Anderson, and throw him over the top rope. And because I had to keep the belt storyline-wise, and so I'm letting you guys in on some stuff here, aren't I? But no, so he does that, and then he hits the ropes, and he drops an elbow right across my ribs. I'm going, no, boom! Comes in the dressing room. He goes, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Sting, man. He was the sweetest guy, actually.
Yeah, he was, but got the game face on. Whoa.
Oh, yeah, when he got the game
Dangerous.
face on, forget it.
Yeah. Next question.
Hey, Stinger, Tony, to your left. Thank you guys both for being here. We appreciate you. Sort of a tough question to ask, so forgive me if it's a sore subject. The program with Seth Rollins and the way that it ended. Can you comment a little bit on the program, where it was going, and your thoughts of the match and the injury?
Well, it's not a sore subject for me. I mean, for me, it's a good subject. I mean, I got hurt, and it ended my career, but I went out in style. World title match, WWE, against one of the greatest, Seth Rollins. I'm glad I went out the way I went out. You know, it's just one of those things where he didn't do anything wrong. It was all me. To this day, I just don't know what happened, but it happened 2 times, and the second time it happened, I couldn't feel my legs for a few minutes, and my legs felt like rubber. And it was a scary moment, and you know, for me, you know, it's like the wrestler mentality. You know, you think to yourself, well, you got to do the finish, you got to finish, you got to finish. And it's like the others on the other shoulder, but your legs aren't working. What are you thinking? You know, but you know, I finally grab the ropes and make my way back up to my feet, and my legs start to kind of come back a little bit. And we continued the match, and we finished it. And I think it was okay. I think it was good. I think it was a good match anyway. I think, you know, I didn't want wrestling fans to say that Sting didn't bring, you know, everything he had, you know, at his age, you know, to do that match. I wanted them to say, wow, man, even now he's bringing it, you know. And I think for the most part, fans were happy with the match overall.
All right. Great question. Thank you. Next question.
Tony, Sting, Terry over here on your left.
Okay.
Right over here, guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Terry from San Antonio, Texas. Looking back on possibly the downfall of WCW, do you think going to 3 hours was the nail in the coffin for that?
It was a contributor, but not the nail in the coffin. You know, you start out with a group of guys excited. You know, we're making great progress, huge gains every single week. The ratings are going up. The creative juices are flowing. There's not cliques. There's a group of people kind of all working together. There's unity. You know, whenever there's unity, good things happen. Without unity, it's never going to happen. And really the downfall, I mean, the final nail in the coffin was just that. You know, suddenly, you know, in the beginning you've got unity, and over time it develops into cliques and groups of people and agendas, and that's where it went downhill.
Yeah, it's hard really to point to any one thing. I go back to the fact that it was run by a television company instead of a wrestling company. And to me, that was really the final downfall. And that's why I'm hoping and thinking AEW is going to work, because it's going to be a wrestling company, not a television company. So,
Wow, thank God.
yeah, absolutely.
Thank God, Tony. Woo! I was still worried about that Starrcade match, and you cleared it up.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. And of course, to finish that fucking Starrcade, I should have. Okay, next question.
Hey, Stinger. I was just curious. When Ted Turner bought WCW, I just wondered what your opinion was of working for Jim Herd.
Yeah, the Pizza Man. I'll never forget, you know, talking with him and negotiating with him. He put a contract in front of my face, and I think it was $225. It was a 3-year contract. $225,000 the first year, $250, and then $275. So it was a $25,000, you know, upgrade every year. And I said, I can't do that. And he said, well, what do you mean you can't do that? I said, well, it's just not enough money. I mean, you know, the Road Warriors are making $500,000. No one knows for sure how much Rick is getting. He gets paper bags at some of these shows, and we don't know how much is in those paper bags on top of his contract. And, you know, Lex Luger's making $300,000. I mean, Paul Ellering was making $300,000. And you're going to give me $275,000? I don't get that. So he says, well, you know, what would it take? And so I threw out a number, and he coughed and choked and said, I don't see any precedent for that. He said, Steve Avery. Steve Avery's making $100,000 a year. I said, it's his rookie year. Next year, he's going to make, you know, I don't know how many hundreds of millions of dollars, you know, who knows? And that's the way it went, too. Anyway, Jim Herd, he was funny. There's other stories I could tell you about him, too, but he ended up giving me what I wanted. And I think overall I had a good relationship with him. So he was a pizza guy, but I got along with him.
Yeah, he was an easy guy. He probably said, I don't know if I'll give Sting this goddamn money that he wants, goddamn it. Where's Jim Ross? Let's see what he has to say.
He made everyone sign the contract in 30 minutes or less.
Hey, Tony, Sting. Speaking of purchases, your first big show after you came over from the UWF was Starrcade 87. You opened up the show in a six-man tag. Can you tell me your thoughts going into that show in Chicago?
I don't even know who was in the match. Starrcade, six-man tag.
It was you, Jimmy Garvin, Michael Hayes against Zbyszko, Rick Steiner, and Eddie Gilbert.
Oh my gosh.
What a nerd.
Oh my gosh. I don't remember 1 minute of that match.
He terrified all the other wrestling fans here. They're like, I love it, but there's limits.
Jimmy Garvin and Michael Hayes? They were my partners?
You know He doesn't know his mom's birthday, this guy. All right.
Great memory, guys.
Yeah.
You know, I brought this up many times, and listen, we love you. We really do, and we appreciate you remembering everything. But when you do it every day and you have so many matches, it gets lost in the shuffle, doesn't it?
It sure does, absolutely. I mean, we were doing 2 and 3 TV tapings a night at times, you know. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is. But thanks for the question.
What were your thoughts on your feud with Abyss in your last rights match that you had together?
With Abyss, I love that guy. The casket match that I had with him, we had so many good matches. He's a real creative guy, just the best attitude. He's got a really good mind for the business. He's a giver, not a taker. And I really I loved working with that guy, and I could not say enough good words about him, and I miss those times. You know, actually with TNA, I had a lot of fun doing that Joker character. That here in the United States it was hit and miss, but you know, in Europe they just loved it over there, and I loved it. If we had a bigger budget and more cameras, you know, I'm convinced you guys didn't see half of the good stuff that happened. I mean, some of my best stuff I think, you know, was done with TNA with that Joker character. To be honest with you, and I had so much fun doing it.
Okay, what else we got?
Hi, Brian from Orlando. Hi, Tony. Hi, Sting. The fella here mentioned Taker in your last program against Seth Rollins. Is there someone presently that you haven't had a program with in any promotion that you think you could tell a great story with right now?
You know, the big guys like Leon White, I always love to tell that story. Braun Strowman, I think, would be a good one. I'd love to have something with Braun Strowman. We'd have a good match, I think. Yeah. Bray Wyatt's another one I'd love to work with.
Okay.
Hey, Sting. So I'm actually from Baltimore, so I love the shout-outs. Was there ever a move, I mean, your finishers have been iconic, but was there ever a move that you wanted to switch to when you were changing gimmicks that you were like, you know what, maybe I should change my moveset, a finisher or something you tried that didn't actually work out the way you wanted?
No, the death drop and the death lock worked so darn good. I just had to stick with them, you know. No, it never even occurred to me to try to, you know, figure out something else. Between those two, I mean, that was it. I loved it the whole way through. Wouldn't change it for anything.
Very good. Next
Hello,
question.
over here. I became a big fan in '92 when you faced Mick Foley at Bash at the Beach. Can you just give your thoughts on that match and if it helped your career at all, or just kind of your general thoughts on that time?
I don't know if it enhanced my career in any way. It was surely fun being in the ring with Mick, with Cactus Jack. I liked him. He was one of the more creative guys. There's another guy who has a great mind for the wrestling business. It was easy to work with him in that, you know, he came to the table with something always. You know, sometimes you work with somebody, they don't have anything. It's just they bring nothing. But Mick, man, he was filled with ideas and innovation and creativity, and so in that respect, it was really good working with him always. So good memories about him, including Germany when he lost his ear against Vader. That was a weird deal. Gary Capetta.
Yeah.
Sting, I have someone's ear. Literally, he handed me. I go, yep, that's an ear. Wow. I thought he was going to put it in the, what's the stuff the doctors put where they put a body part in the jar and
Yeah.
formaldehyde and it preserves
or
it.
dry ice or something.
I think he wanted to do that. But he didn't do it, long story short, you know. I mean, the only thing he said was bang, bang. That's it.
And Jim Hurt thought it was a pizza topping.
Oh. Mike.
Hey, Sting, Tony. Hypothetically speaking, if TNA never existed, do you think you would have came to the WWE sooner? Personally, I love your TNA run, but
If TNA did not exist, would I have gone to WWE earlier? I kind of think probably so. Yeah. I mean, that's a straight up, yeah, I think so.
Hello, my name is Wendy from California, and I just wanted to say, if the injury never occurred and you won the World Heavyweight Champion, what would you have done?
If my injury against Seth, that one?
Yeah.
If that wouldn't have happened, what was the last part of the question?
And you won the World Heavyweight title.
And I won the World Heavyweight title?
What would you have done after you won the heavyweight title from Seth?
Just basked in the glory. WWE, WCW, TNA, I'm the greatest of all time. Now you're going to see the true Sting come out. It'd be time for me to turn heel because I'd be so darn good, you know. Nobody could touch me.
You know, really, you, Ricky Steamboat, there's only a handful of you guys that never really kind of turned heel.
I actually worked heel in the beginning of my career.
Really?
And yeah, and with Hogan, we tried to turn me heel.
Oh.
Yeah. We were I think we were at the Cow Palace in San Francisco, and I was supposed to come out with a baseball bat.
Yeah, baseball bat gimmick, huh?
And whack him with the baseball bat and turn heel.
Wow.
And I whacked him with the baseball bat, and you guys all cheered. Literally, that's what happened. I mean, my jaw dropped. I went, wow. Came back to the dressing room area. Eric Bischoff said, "I think we'd be shooting ourselves in the foot to try to switch you heel right now."
Hey, Sting. Unfortunately, we're going to be seeing Taker and Goldberg fight in Saudi Arabia in a few weeks.
Did you say unfortunately?
Let's be real here. They're not as good anymore. It's going to be slow. Sorry.
I don't know.
I didn't get the
I'm
last
sure
part.
you're a better wrestler.
But
I'm missing all the good stuff. What did he say?
but like, for the right price, would you come back to do a match with WWE?
For the right price, would you come back and do a match?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get rid of that. Yeah. Let me add to this one thing that I've known about pro wrestling. Everybody's got a price.
No, I mean, obviously it's not just for the money. I mean, but yeah, I mean, for the right price, I would do it. You know? I've always wanted to have that match. So.
Hi, this is Adrian from Indiana. Nice to see you guys. Besides Ready to Rumble, I know you had a couple run-ins on Thunder in Paradise. Do you got any fun stories from being on that side of the camera?
Just, you know, David Arquette and Scotty Kahn, you know, those guys made me laugh on the set the whole time. You know, my character was stoic and stone-faced, and I had to be that way on camera. So when there was a two-shot deal where, you know, the camera was on me and we were having conversation, but the camera was not on them. It was my shot this time. They were behind the camera saying and doing stuff to make me laugh, and we had to do so many different takes. So a lot of fun working with those guys for sure. And, you know, I think a lot of you guys know the David Arquette story about me on the plane with him.
No, you guys don't.
Yeah, to this day, yeah. He didn't know me that well. I didn't know him either. He was doing stuff with us, obviously. We were sitting on a plane traveling to the next city. First class. He was sitting right in front of me. He was reading this magazine. All the guys are sitting up there, and some businessmen and women sitting up there as well. And all the guys are like this, sleeping. And David Arquette's, he's reading this thing, and I come up with my face like this. I got to actually do it. So I get it. I'm just bored. So I want to mess with David Arquette because he doesn't know me. And I come up to him like this. No, don't turn yet. Okay. Put the thing down so people can see you. They know he's got a magazine in his hand. So I'm like this. Now he can almost feel me breathing. So now he kind of almost moves just his eyeballs. Just your eyeballs. Okay. Okay. All right. Now actually turn. Yeah. He does that. Okay. So we're setting the scene. So he does that. He turns around, he looks at me, he goes, and he just keeps looking straight ahead. And I go, with a Joker face, I go, "You reading?" He went, "Yeah." I knew it. That was it. Now to this day, we go to the show, Nitro, the next day, we're in catering, I'm eating, he walks up behind me, he goes, he's right here, I turn, he goes, "You eating?" Yep. I knew it. So to this day, I saw him in an airport, it was like 5 years later, I saw him in an airport, he goes, "You flying?" Yep, I knew it. That's great. Got time for a couple more questions.
Hi, Sting. I'm Mark from New York. I was just wondering if you have any good stories with the Great Muta.
If I like the stories with Great Muta?
Have any stories with the Great Muta?
Do you have any great stories of the Great Muta?
Yeah, he was another guy who did a great moonsault. But I remember Dusty and I, we went to Japan. It was just Dusty and me, and I was supposed to go wrestle Muta, and I was going to win at the Tokyo Dome, 65,000 people. And then, he was going to come back to the States, and we were going to do a program together. And we got there, and I'm in the dressing room with him, and he's like Harley Race. He had the cigarette, too, like this in the dressing room, So I said, he always did the same thing every time he saw me. He'd say, "You good condition?" I said, "Yeah, I good." He goes, "Oh, me blow up." "Oh, no. How long we go?" I go, 30 minutes? "Oh, no. We do 15, maybe 20. I blow up, Sting." So we're at the Tokyo Dome in the dressing room, and I go, "So, what are we going to do for a finish?" He goes, "Moonsault." I go, wait, moonsault? So you're going over? He goes, "Yeah, I go over." This is news to me. So we did the match. He went over. I talked to Dusty. I said, "Dusty, you told me I was going over. What's going on here?" He says, "Baby, just roll with it, baby. Come on, we're going to get him back over here in the United States, baby. We're going to have a good deal. You're going to get it back. I promise you, baby. Come on, let's go. Come on, Stinger." Yeah, that was a fun trip with Dusty. We were so dog tired by the time we got back to the States. We were going up some escalator. Bags. He had one big bag, man. It was a big bag. And so we're going up, and we're going up like this. He's got the bags in front of him like this. Now it gets to the top, and it gets stuck. And he's doing this. He goes over the top of the bag. I go over the top of Dusty, and that big bag, slides down the steps about 800 miles an hour toward a woman. She went like this and stepped back in place and said, "That was close." All right. We have time for one more question.
All right, we're not topping that, but let's try.
We'll try. Paul from Huntsville, Alabama. A question. You guys talked a lot about the Hogan-Sting match. What about Halloween Havoc 92, you and Jake Roberts and the very less than intimidating Snake, and how that match did not live up to expectations by most people's standards? What happened there?
So, what do you guys want to talk about? Any other questions? I don't remember that match either.
Is that the one? Is that the one where Jake got a snake caught on his face?
Yes, it is.
And ran out of the ring? Yeah, we don't remember.
Coal miner's glove match?
On a pole, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
cold miner's glove on a pole match.
It's WCW. A pole is implied.
I thought it was a great question.
The only Jake story I can tell you is wrestling with him in Dallas, and I believe it was the old Sportatorium that the Von Erichs.
Yeah.
We wrestled in there, and I was so new and green, and he had me in this hold, and we were just laying there, and I'm going, "What are we doing? What are we doing?" And he goes, "We're in a hole. We're in a hole. Just relax." Why? Why are we just laying here? Because there's something going on up in the audience right now. And he goes, "They're watching that. They're not watching us." So turned out we thought there was a fight or something, but there was a young kid, a teenager with a .22, and he shot 2 rounds into the ring trying to kill Jake. No one got hit. No one ringside. Not me, not Jake. It was amazing.
Wow.
We got shot at. A lot of people don't know that.
Whoa.
Jake had heat too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes that coal miner's glove on the pole match seem kind of shitty, doesn't it? Jesus.
Yeah, that's one of those matches I don't have anything to really add. Just your memory. I hope it's a good one.
Well, we've run out of time now. Sting's got a meet and greet coming up right after this. We want you to be a part of that. Great career, buddy.
Thank you. Hey, you know what? Hold on a second. Wait a minute. I just want to say, Tony?
Yep.
It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you again. Let's not wait 18 years.
Right, yeah. No, I mean, Tony, what a great history with Tony. What a pro. What a great guy. I am, when I found out I was going to be doing a Q&A, but Tony was going to be facilitating and asking the questions, I said, this is good. So, thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Steve. Ladies and gentlemen.
thank you, Las Vegas!
Let's hear it for the one and only Sting!
StarCast 2 on Fight TV, David Crockett. I never saw that side of Sting before, and I worked with him for the best part of a decade.
I never have either, but I tell you one thing. When he started talking about Tony, I had to pull my legs up. It was getting deep, getting real deep.
Well, I almost forgot he was the Joker in TNA. That's a third persona to add to the Stinger. Coming up on Fight TV here at StarCast 2 in fabulous Las Vegas, we got the Taz Show, the Human Suplex Machine, doing his thing on the podcast. And we got a panel talking about what I think is the best book that summed up the history of TNT Monday Nitro. It's simply called Nitro. David, we were there. It's one great book. StarCast is going great so far.
Yes, it is. And everybody, there's so much more coming on. Stay tuned for it.
Stay tuned. I'm Mark Madden. That's David Crockett at StarCast 2.
Tag team. Turner, Barton, Mid-South Joint World Championship Wrestling. Talking about the great years of World Championship Wrestling, the NWA, and Jim Crockett Promotion. Tony and Friends North they win. Look, Schiavone's back again. World title split off center stage. Bischoff, Disney, Hogan, and Nitro.